just want to welcome the volunteers. Thank you. This is really your church, our church. And without you, it'd be awfully difficult to reopen. And I think your work that you've been doing proves that the church here at St. Barnabas is alive and well. And soon you'll hear different parts of volunteering. But I just wanted to thank you for choosing to minister to your fellow parishioners. So thank you very much, and we'll see you around town, especially in church.
Hi greeters, Deacon Andy here. Thank you very, very much for volunteering to be a greeter as we reopen St. Barnabas. I'm going to remove my mask for the sake of this video, but I just want to walk you through some of the things that you'll need to do in that final row as a greeter and usher during our prayer events and during sacramental events. The very first thing you need to do is start here at the front door and greet our parishioners and our visitors when they come to St. Barnabas. Be cheerful, be welcoming. They're very happy to be here. We're happy to see them, and for most of them, it's their first time back in church in 3 months. So be a welcoming, friendly face. Make sure that you're wearing a mask so that they see what we expect them to do. When people come to the door, you want to ask them individually, are they feeling well today? Do they have a fever? Have they been in contact with anybody who has had the COVID-19 virus in the last 14 days? And if the answer to any of those questions is yes, then you have to ask them not to come into the church. But let's assume that everyone who comes is healthy and is happy to be here. Go ahead and walk them in. You might want to point out the arrows on the floor. There will be some hand sanitizer stations. Make sure that they see you sanitize your hands and ask them to do exactly the same thing. And then ask them to come on into church. We're only going to use these double doors to enter the sanctuary. There are traffic flow arrows on the floor. Everyone will go up the center aisle and then to the left-hand side for our private prayer and for our sacramental events. Each one of the sections will be marked off, so follow me. There's an X on the floor here. We don't want people to walk behind the pews. We want everyone to walk up to the front of the church. Once you're in the front of the church, you can direct people to the correct section to sit in. For example, for private prayer, on Monday mornings, we're going to use the section of pews all the way over to the left. On Wednesday evening, we'll use the next section. And on Friday morning, we'll use this section right next to the main aisle. And you'll see labels on the backs of the pews. Those are the places where people are allowed to sit. We want to make sure that we maintain social distance. We want to make sure that we're sitting every other pew. We want to make sure that people are not sitting on top of each other. The only exception to that is if the people come and they're living together already. They can sit together in a group, but then you may not be able to allow them to use the next label over because it won't be more than 6 feet away from anyone. That's the most important thing. Make sure everyone stands 6 feet or sits 6 feet away from the next closest person. For things like funerals, weddings, baptisms, we'll be using sections of pews on the other side of the main aisle, but everything will be marked. Right now, we're in the midst of setting up all the pews, all the labels, and the entire church for private prayer and for our sacramental events. Private prayer starts on June 8th, 7:30 to 9:30 in the morning. Monday and Friday, it's in the morning, and on Wednesday, it's in the evening from 6 to 8. Make sure you wear a mask. Make sure that they can see that you're following the protocols that the Archdiocese has given us so that they then know what to expect. One of the other things that the greeters are going to have to do if the situation occurs is maybe a little bit of conflict management. People have been away from church for 3 months. Finally being able to get back into their worship space can be a very emotional experience for them. Things are different now. Things have changed. They're not allowed to sit wherever they want to. They can only stay for a certain amount of time. We're limited to 10 people at a time. And all of these could be a cause of anxiety and maybe some frustration for some of our parishioners and our visitors. So it's the job of the greeter to kind of mediate that. Don't take any of their complaints personally. They're not mad at you, they're mad at the situation. But if something arises, help them find a solution. Maybe they would like to sit in a pew in a different area, a little farther back. Help them to understand that we're all in this together and we're trying to do our best so that we can take care of each other, take care of our health, and take care of our permission, our certification to be open in the Archdiocese. When it's time to leave, for example, for private prayer, we want to make sure that no one comes and sits where another person had been sitting. Private prayer is open for 10 people at a time. But there might be 20 people who show up, so the other 10 have to wait their turn. So you might have to ask someone gently, would you mind leaving now so that someone else can come in and pray? But when it is time to leave, we want to make sure that we leave from the back of the church first. When we're seating people, we seat from front to back, and when we're leaving, we leave from back to front. That's about it as far as what the greeter is going to do. You're going to model wearing a mask. You're going to model sanitizing your hands. You're going to make sure that the people who come into the church are healthy. And you're going to be a pleasant face. You're going to be probably the first person they've seen in church in 3 months. So we want to make sure that everyone is welcome, that everyone is safe, and that everyone enjoys being back at St. Barnabas. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you at private prayer or at one of our sacraments. Have a great day.
Welcome. My name is Matt O'Keefe. Thank you for volunteering to be on the disinfecting crew for our reopening of St. Barnabas Parish. Let me walk you through a couple of the procedures that we need to run through whenever we disinfect the church. So first of all, safety first. We always need to have eye protection. I'm wearing my prescription glasses. You may have safety glasses from home from your workshop or something. We always need to wear a mask. So carving while I put on my mask. And for cleaning, we're going to wear gloves as well. The cleaning solutions we will use are an alcohol-based solution for certain surfaces, and you'll be instructed on what surfaces you will use the alcohol solution for, and a harsher solution. In this case right now we're using Clorox, but we'll probably find another solution like Lysol-based solution that's not as harsh. When we clean, we'll spray the surface. For the Clorox-based solution, we'll wipe the surface with a cloth, wait 10 seconds, and then wipe the surface with a water-damp rag. For the alcohol-based cleaning, this is an example of the alcohol-based solution, we just let it evaporate. So come with me now to the sacristy and I'll show you how we're going to wipe down a hard surface. So here's an example of cleaning a typical hard surface. So I'm using my bleach-based solution, and I'll give a nice mist to the surface. Wait 10 seconds. We'll wipe it with mist it and wipe it with the blue disposable towel. Give it a good wipe. Make sure you cover the entire surface. And we have to wait 10 seconds for this to take its action. And after 10 seconds, we spray it with our water bottle to remove any bleach residue. And after we've done our wiping down of the surfaces and used our towels as much as possible, we dispose these towels in the garbage. And remember, you'll have a checklist of all the surfaces that need to be cleaned after any service. And remember, when you're doing disinfection, safety first. Eye protection, disposable gloves to protect your hands from the chemicals, and a face mask. And as a reminder, whenever you're cleaning a surface, use the appropriate solution, whether it's an alcohol-based solution or a more caustic Clorox-based solution. Spray it down, wipe it, allow 10 seconds for the solution to do its disinfecting job, spray it with water, wipe it again to remove any residue, dispose of the towels, and you're done. And remember, always use common sense. There might be surfaces that were touched that you observed during the service that are not on the checklist. In that case, use your best judgment and disinfect those as well. Thank you again for your help.
Hi, I'm Brendan Conroy, and I am chairing the setup committee as we return to St. Barnabas. Thank you so much for helping us out with this endeavor. As you know, we are tasked with getting the building physically ready for everybody to come back in a safe and healthy way. So one of the things we have to do is look at where people can come into the building and how they can move through the building. So we have to make sure that there are signs up that tell people where and where they cannot come into the building. And there's one place where they can't come, but we direct them to where they can. And this is going to be the door that everybody will come through off of 101st Place. In addition to making sure that the signs for the entry and exits are in the right places on the church doors, inside the church, we'll have to make sure that the arrows for traffic flow are down and visible for everybody who comes. And you can see some of those arrows here as people come in the building. One of the first ways that we're going to be able to enjoy being back at St. Barnabas is by engaging in individual prayer on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And in order to maximize our opportunity to have as many people here without having too close a contact and maintaining safe and healthy distance, we've designated areas for prayer on Monday, prayer on Wednesday, and prayer on Friday. Many people have their favorite pews and areas to sit when they are at church. Unfortunately, the pandemic is forcing us to go without some things that we usually like to do. So we ask that parishioners only sit in designated spots marked by this decal with the St. Barnabas logo on it, and that they avoid sitting in those pews that are marked off. So our job will be to be sure that those decals are in good shape and that pews that should be marked off are marked off, so that there's a minimum of 6 feet between any two people who are seated at church. In addition to maintaining the seat decals and the blocked off seats, we want to make sure that the arrows on the floor for exiting the church are also very clear, because this helps us to maintain that safe and healthy distance. Exits in the far corners of the church are usable for anyone who is in those far sections, and other exits will be clearly marked. It will be our job to be sure that those arrows and then the exit signs are clear, so everyone knows where they can go safely. There are some spots in church that are particularly prayerful for people. The Marian Shrine, the chapel, the icons. It's wonderful that people may want to use those, but there are going to have to be some areas that will be blocked off. Seating by the icons will not be available, and the chapel will need to be closed, and there will not be a kneeler at the Marian Shrine. So we want to make sure that we are conveying that with how we've set up the church, so that people are welcome to pray at the shrine or at the icons, but that there really isn't anywhere to stop and linger for a long time there. To review, our committee is tasked with external signage on the outside doors of the building, internal signs that direct people where they should or should not be, markings on the floor for traffic flow, and designated seating, such as this. Thank you so much for volunteering. We're all looking forward to being back in church.